Babar the King. Off in the country of the elephants, King Babar and Queen Celeste are rejoicing. They have signed a treaty of peace with the rhinoceroses, and their friend, the old lady, has consented to remain with them. She often tells the elephants' children stories. Her little monkey, Zephir, perched up in a tree, also listens. Leaving the old lady with Queen Celeste, Babar has gone for a walk along the banks of a large lake with Cornelius, the oldest and wisest of all the elephants, and he says to him, "This countryside is so beautiful that I would like to see it every day as I wake up. We must build our city here. Our houses shall be on the shores of the lake and shall be surrounded with flowers and birds." Zephir, who has followed them, would like to catch a butterfly he sees. While chasing the butterfly, Zephir meets his friend Arthur, the young cousin of the king and queen, who was amusing himself hunting for snails. All of a sudden, they see 1, 2, 3, 4 dromedaries, 5, 6, 7 dromedaries, 8, 9, 10. There are more than they can count. And the chief of the cavalcade calls to them, "Can you please tell us where we can find King Babar?" Escorted by Arthur and Zephir, the dromedaries have found Babar. They are bringing him all his heavy baggage and all the things which he had bought out in the big world during his honeymoon. Babar thanks them. "You must be tired, gentlemen. Won't you rest under the shade of the palm trees?" Then, turning to the old lady and to Cornelius, he says, "Now we will be able to build our city." Having called an assembly of all the elephants, Babar climbs up on a packing case and in a loud voice proclaims the following words. "My friends, I have in these trunks, these bales, and these sacks gifts for each of you. There are dresses, suits, hats, and materials, paint boxes, drums, fishing tackle and rods, ostrich feathers, tennis rackets, and many other things. I will divide all this among you as soon as we have finished building our city. This city, the city of the elephants, I would like to suggest that we name Celesteville in honor of your queen." All the elephants raised their trunks and cried, "What a good idea! What an excellent idea!" The elephants set to work quickly. Arthur and Zephir hand out the tools. Babar tells each one what he should do. He marks with signboards where the streets and houses should go. He orders some to cut down trees, some to move stones, others saw wood or dig holes. With what joy they all strive to do their best. The old lady is playing the phonograph for them, and from time to time Babar plays on his trumpet. He is fond of music. All the elephants are as happy as he is. They drive nails, draw logs, pull and push, dig, fetch and carry, opening their big ears wide as they work. Over in the big lake, the fish are complaining among themselves. "We can't even sleep peacefully any longer," they say. "These elephants make the most dreadful noise. What are they building? When we jump out of the water, we really haven't time to see clearly. We'll have to ask the frogs what it is all about." The birds also gathered together to discuss what the elephants were up to. The pelicans and the flamingos, the ducks and the ibis, and even the smaller birds all twittered, chirped, and quacked, and the parrots enthusiastically kept repeating, "Come and see Celesteville, the most beautiful of all cities. Come and see Celesteville, the most beautiful of all cities." Here is Celesteville. The elephants have just finished building it and are resting or bathing. Babar goes for a sail with Arthur and Zephir. He is well satisfied and admires his new capital. Each elephant has his own house. The big lake is visible from all their windows. The Bureau of Industry is next door to the amusement hall, which will be very practical and convenient. Today, Babar keeps his promise. He gives a gift to each elephant, and also serviceable clothes suitable for workdays, and beautiful, rich clothes for holidays. After thanking their king most heartily, the elephants all go home dancing with glee. Babar has decided that next Sunday all the elephants will dress up in their best clothes and assemble in the gardens of the amusement park. The gardeners have much to do. They rake the paths, water the flower beds, and set out the last flower pots. The elephant children are planning a surprise for Babar and Celeste. They have asked Cornelius to teach them the song of the elephants. Arthur had the idea. They are very attentive, keep time, and will know it perfectly by Sunday. Song of the Elephants.
Patali tirapata, kromda ripalu, pata pata kukuku. Bokoro di pulito, rondi pepino, pata pata kukuku. Emana carasoli, lucra pomponto, pata pata kukuku.
This song is the old chant of the mammoths. Cornelius himself doesn't know what the words mean. The cooks are hurriedly preparing cakes and dainties of all kinds. Queen Celeste comes to help them. Zephir comes, too, with Arthur. He tastes the vanilla cream to see if it is just right. First, he puts in his finger, then his hand, and then his arm. Arthur is dying of envy and would like to stick his trunk in it. In order to have one last taste, Zephir bends his head, sticks out his tongue, and poof! In he falls head first. At this sound, the chief cook looks around and, greatly annoyed, fishes him out by the tail. The soup chef bursts out laughing. Arthur hides. Poor little Zephir is a sight, all yellow and sticky. Celeste scolds him and goes off to clean him up. Sunday comes at last. In the gardens of the amusement park, the elephants saunter about dressed magnificently. The children have sung their song. Babar has kissed each one. The cakes were delicious. What a wonderful day. Unfortunately, it is over all too soon. The old lady is already organizing the last round of hide and seek. The next day, after their morning dip in the lake, the children go to school, and they are glad to find their teacher, the old lady, waiting for them. Lessons are never tiresome when she teaches. After having settled the little ones at their tasks, she turns her attention to the older ones and asks them, 2 times 2? 3, answers Arthur. No, 4, said his neighbor, Ottilie. 4, that's what we study for, sang Zephir. 4, repeated Arthur. I'll not forget that again, teacher. All the elephants who are too old to attend classes have chosen a trade. For example, Tapitor is a cobbler, Pilophage an officer, Capoulos is a doctor, Barbacol a tailor, Podular a sculptor, and Achibombotar is a street cleaner. Doulamore is a musician, Olure is a mechanic, Poutifour a farmer, Fandago is a learned man, Justinien is a painter, and Coco a clown. If Capoulos has holes in his shoes, he brings them to Tapitor, and if Tapitor is sick, Capoulos takes care of him. If Barbacore wants a statue for his mantelpiece, he asks Podular to carve one for him, and when Podular's coat is worn out, Barbacore makes a new one to order for him. Justinien paints a portrait of Pilophage, who will protect him against his enemies. Achibombotar cleans the streets, Olure repairs the automobiles, and when they are all tired, Doulamore plays his cello to entertain them. After having settled grave problems, Fandago relaxes and eats some of Poutifor's fruits. As for Coco, he keeps them all laughing and gay. At Celesteville, all the elephants work in the morning, and in the afternoon they can do as they please. They play, go for walks, read, and dream. Babar and Celeste like to play tennis with Mr. and Mrs. Pilophage. Cornelius, Fandago, Podular, and Capoulos prefer to play bowls. The children play with Coco, the clown. Arthur and Zephir have put on masks. There is a shallow pool in which to sail their boats, and there are many other games besides. But what the elephants like best of all is the theater in the amusement park. Every day, early in the morning, Achibombotar sprinkled the streets with his motor sprinkler. When Arthur and Zephir meet him, they quickly take off their shoes and run after the car barefoot. "Oh, what a fine shower," they say laughingly. Unfortunately, Babar caught them at it one day. "No dessert for either of you, you rascals," he cried. Arthur and Zephir are mischievous, as are all little boys, but they are not lazy. Babar and Celeste visit the old lady and are amazed to hear them play the violin and cello. "It is wonderful," says Celeste, and Babar adds, "My dear children, I am indeed pleased with you. Go to the pastry shop and select whatever cakes you like." Arthur and Zephir are very happy to have had all the cakes they wanted, but they are even more delighted when, at the distribution of prizes, they hear Cornelius read out, "First prize for music, a tie between Arthur and Zephir." Very proudly, with wreaths on their heads, they went back to their seats. After having rewarded the good scholars, Cornelius made a noble speech. "And now I wish you all a pleasant holiday," he ended up. Everyone clapped hard and applauded loudly. Then, quite weary, he sat down, but alas and alack, his fine hat was on the chair, and he crushed it completely. "A regular pancake," said Zephir. Cornelius was aghast, and sadly looked at what was left of his hat. What would he wear on the next formal occasion? The old lady promises Cornelius to sew some plumes on his old derby, and in order to console him further, she invites him to go for a ride on the new merry-go-round which Babar has just had built. Podular has carved the animals, Justinien has painted them, and the motor was installed by Olure. All three of them are very skillful. They have also made the king's mechanical horse. Olure has just oiled it, and Babar is winding it up. He wants to give it a final try before the big celebration on the anniversary of the founding of Celesteville. The weather is perfect the day of the celebration. Arthur marches at the head of the parade with Zephir and the band. Cornelius follows, his hat completely transformed. Then come the soldiers and the trades companies. All those who are not marching are watching this unforgettable spectacle. On his way home from the celebration, Zephir notices a curious stick. He goes to pick it up, Horrors! It is a snake which rears its head and hisses and cruelly bites the old lady who tries to hide Zephir in her arms. Arthur furiously smashes his bugle on the snake's back and kills it. The old lady's arm swells rapidly, and she hastens to the hospital. Dr. Capulos takes care of her and gives her a hypodermic of serum. Zephir sadly remains near his mistress. She is very ill. I can't tell you until tomorrow whether she will get well, Capulos says to Babar. As Babar leaves the hospital, he hears cries of, "Fire! Fire! Cornelius's house is on fire!" The stairway is already full of smoke. The firemen succeed in rescuing Cornelius, but he is half suffocated and a burning beam has injured him. Capulos, summoned in great haste, gives him first aid before having him moved to the hospital. A match, which Cornelius thought he had thrown into the ashtray, but which had actually fallen still lighted in the trash basket, had been enough to start this terrible fire. That night, when Babar goes to bed, he shuts his eyes, but cannot sleep. What a dreadful day, he thinks. It began so well. Why did it have to end so badly? Before these two accidents, we were all so happy and peaceful at Celestville. We had forgotten that misfortune existed. Oh, my dear old Cornelius, and you, dear old lady, I would give my crown to see you cured. Capulos was to telephone me any news. Oh, how long this night seems, and how worried I am. Babar finally drops off to sleep, but his sleep is restless, and soon he dreams. He hears a knocking on his door. Tap, tap, tap. Then a voice says to him, "It is I, Misfortune, with some of my companions, come to pay you a visit." Babar looks out of the window and sees a frightful old woman surrounded by flabby, ugly beasts. He opens his mouth to shout, "Ah, go away, quickly!" But he stops to listen to a very faint noise, as of birds flying in a flock, and he sees coming toward him graceful winged elephants who chase misfortune away from Celestville and bring back happiness. At this point he awakes and feels ever so much better. Babar dresses and runs to the hospital. Oh, joy! What does he see? His two patients walking in the garden. He can hardly believe his eyes. "We are all well again," says Cornelius. "But all this excitement has made me as hungry as a wolf. Let's get some breakfast, and then later we'll rebuild my house." A week later, in Babar's drawing room, the old lady says to her two friends, "Do you see how in this life one must never be discouraged? The vicious snake didn't kill me, and Cornelius is completely recovered. Let's work hard and cheerfully, and we'll continue to be happy." And since that day, over in the elephant's country, everyone has been happy and contented. Babar and Zephir. The elephant's school at Celestville is closed for the whole summer. Zephir, the little monkey, as well as his bigger schoolmates, goes off for the holidays. What fun to go and see his family again. But how sad to leave his friends, King Babar, Queen Celeste, the old lady, his teacher, and his beloved Arthur. All four have promised to come to the river near the bridge to see him off and bid him a last fond farewell. There they are. Zephir catches sight of them. He waves his handkerchief and calls out, "Au revoir!" Zephir arrives at the station of Monkeyville and throws himself into his mother's arms. "Gracious, how you've grown, my darling," she says as she kisses him on both cheeks. Everybody is piled into the family car. Zephir rides in front next to his father. His mother rides in back with his little sister and his brothers. "Let's go. Step on the gas," says Zephir. They have to use a rope ladder to climb up to the house, perched there in the treetops. Zephir scrambles up easily, but laughs as he says to himself, "This wouldn't do at all for my friends the elephants." The house is small, but comfortable. While his mother prepares a good soup of bananas and chocolate, Zephir plays hide-and-seek with his brothers. His father carries up the baggage, and little sister swings to and fro. Zephir falls asleep almost as soon as his head touches the pillow. But in the middle of the night, the nightingale wakes him with his song. Zephir gets up gaily and runs to the window. "Hello, old chap." The two cronies now have a little chat. "Do you know what? There's a big package for you at the station," says the nightingale breathlessly. "On the label is written, 'From Babar.'" "Maybe it's a piano," answers Zephir. "I won first prize in music, you know." Next morning, Zephir hurries to the station. What a wonderful surprise! King Babar has sent him a real rowboat. Zephir, with his father's help, rows it into the water. He is going in for a swim, and then later will fish. The elephants have taught him how. The monkeys admire his courage, for they themselves are afraid of the water. Princess Isabel, turning to her father, General Huck, says, "Oh, what a daredevil that fellow Zephir is." "What's this I've caught?" Zephir asks himself, greatly surprised. And then the beautiful creature speaks. "Oh, Mr. Monkey," she says, "don't squeeze me so hard. You're choking me. Listen to me, I pray. I'm a tiny little mermaid and live in the sea. I have a head and arms just like you, but see, I have a fish's tail. I'm accustomed to my life in the ocean waves. If you carry me off into the forest, I'll surely die. Leave me here to swim about with my sisters. My name is Eleanor. Maybe someday you'll have need of me. If so, throw 3 pebbles into the water and repeat my name 3 times. No matter where I am, I'll hear you and come to you. I will never forget you." Zephir listens to the mermaid and then gently frees her from the fishhook. He has just let her go, but is a little sad at having lost her. On his way home, Zephir sees some monkeys reading the newspapers in the street and hears the newsboy shouting, "Extra, extra! Princess Isabel vanishes!" "Poor little thing," thinks Zephir. "It can't be true. She was on the beach this morning when I started out to fish." He listens to the passers-by, and this is what he hears. Isabel was playing in the palace gardens when suddenly she was surrounded by a green cloud which wrapped itself around her, hiding her from her friends. Then the cloud rose, leaving behind it a strong odor of rotting apples. The princess hadn't been seen since. General Huck, full of anxiety and despair, calls out his guardsmen and gives Colonel Aristobald his orders. "General," this brave officer replies, "I promise we will do our very best to find your daughter, the princess." By air, by water, from the treetops and the mountain peaks, even through the underbrush, Aristobald and his soldiers hunt for the princess. In spite of all their efforts, they find no trace of her. General Huck arrives in his car to get the latest news. When questioned, the colonel lowers his head sadly. The general understands what this means and goes away with a heavy heart. Zephir is the only one who doesn't give up hope. Secretly, he puts a gourd and some provisions into his knapsack. He also takes with him his most prized possessions, his violin and his clown costume. Then he starts off toward the sea. Luckily, the beach is deserted. He picks up 3 pebbles, throws them into the water, and calls out 3 times, "Eleanor, my friend, Zephir awaits you here." Instantly, just as she had promised, the little mermaid appears. "Isabel is lost. Can you help me find her?" asks Zephir. "That will be difficult," she answers, "but for your sake, I'm willing to try. Wait here. I'll go and get my carriage." A few minutes later, Zephir is happily seated in a gigantic sea-going shell. They are off. The racing fish pull them along speedily. Eleanor guides them toward a wild-looking island and points it out, saying, "That's where my Aunt Crustadelle lives. Let's visit her in her grotto. She will give us good advice." "My children," said Crustadelle after listening to them in silence, "he who smells of rotting apples, he who carried off Isabel, must be Polomosh." "Who is Polomosh?" asks Zephir. "He is a monster who lives on his island with his friends, the Gogots. They live on herbs and fruits and are not savage, but they are bored. From time to time, in order to amuse himself, Polomosh goes off for a trip in the little green cloud. If he meets anyone he likes, he carries him off to his cave. That's what has happened to Isabel. He is capricious, impatient, and has a bad habit of turning to stone those who anger him. Little monkey, if you want to save your princess, there is not a moment to lose. Eleanor will drive you there and wait for you. Take this old sack. It will prove useful. And remember, in order to succeed, you'll have to make Polomosh laugh. You'll recognize him by his pointed horns and his yellow skin. Leave at once, and good luck to you." After a good crossing, Eleanor and Zephir land without being seen by the Gogots. The country looks bleak. They are now silently taking leave of each other. Zephir holds his friend's little hand in his own. Zephir puts on Crustadelle's sack. It covers him and his few belongings completely, and he immediately resembles the rocks which are scattered all over the island. He walks cautiously to the top of the hill while working out his plans. When he gets to the top, he hears a gruff voice. Quickly removing the sack, he peeks through the rocks. There is Isabel, right in the midst of the monsters.
"Little monkey," growls Polomosh, "I carried you off because I thought you'd be amusing, and here you do nothing but cry. I've heard enough of this. I'm going to change you into a rock."
"Lord Polomosh, and you, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to salute you," says the brave Zephir politely as he suddenly emerges from behind the rocks. "I am a clown musician by profession. Pray, allow me to stop here a while to try to entertain you." Isabel, recognizing him, drops her handkerchief and thinks to herself, "Ah, he has come just in the nick of time." Pretty soon, thanks to Zephir, everyone is at ease. A pleasant air of gaiety prevails. He tells them stories, one about the rat with an elephant's trunk, one about the blind huntsman, one about Captain Oplala and the gun made of macaroni, and one about Persefeuille and Filigrane. Each time he finishes a tale, Polomosh and the Gogots cry, "Tell us another! Tell us one more!" Tired of talking, Zephir now dons his clown costume. What luck to have brought it with him. Presto! There he is! I am now going to show you a game, the chase of the magic hat. Having said these words, bang, crash, he falls down and turns several somersaults at top speed, and then, when he catches his hat with his tail, Polomosh bursts out laughing heartily. That's fine, thinks the crafty Zephir. One more little stunt, and the time will be ripe for action. My plan is a good one. By tomorrow, we'll be far away. Then, picking up his violin, he plays waltzes and polkas, one after the other. Carried away by the music, they all jump and whirl about giddily. At last, tired out, they all roll over in a heap and go to sleep and start to snore peacefully. Zephir takes off his costume and prepares to escape. The moment has come, he whispers to Isabel, and they dash off to the sea as fast as their legs can carry them. Eleanor is waiting and waves to them. They are saved. Land is in sight. On their way back, they stop to thank Crustadel. Some birds have announced their return, and the news travels fast. Polomosh and the Gogots sleep on. The monkeys come running from all directions. Some run down to the beach. Others watch from the cliff. General Huck takes out his spyglass. Zephir's family cries for joy. Zephir and Isabel are warmly greeted by the enthusiastic crowd who shower them with flowers. They've said goodbye to the gentle Eleanor, who has gone back home with her fish. The general congratulates Zephir in front of the soldiers of his guard and says, "My young friend, I, General Huck, President of the Republic of the Monkeys, am proud of you and give you my beloved daughter Isabel. You may marry her later on when you become of age." After this ceremony, when Zephir goes home, his father and his mother, his sister and his brothers all make a big fuss over him too. They are so happy to see him again that they don't scold him for having gone off without telling them and causing them so much concern. They dance around him and sing, "Long live the betrothed." As long as he lives with the elephants, Eleanor and her sisters will watch over Isabel.